What's up, y'all? It's KB. And just like you, I love movies. Welcome to another episode of The Conversation. So, if you saw the thumbnail, tonight's guest is an actor, a teacher, a fellow YouTuber, fellow podcaster, and for our purposes tonight, a fellow movie lover. It's one thing when I have someone answering our fifth question of five takes and they bring up a future guest, but it's another thing when his name is brought up, not only on my channel, but other people make references to him. So this is another overdue episode. We have Roberto Bellissimo on
Thank
this
you.
one. How are you doing,
Thank
my friend?
Good, good. Thank you so much for having me. Like the Scorsese shirt you got there.
Big Goodfellas fan.
Yeah.
And I went to the movie theater, and the manager there, of course, he's kind of like a geeky movie theater guy. And I have another shirt that's the painting.
Oh
And
yeah.
all of a sudden he launched right into a Joe Pesci impression. One dog's going that way, the other dog's going that way. I'm like, okay, we get it. So every time I go, he's looking to see what t-shirt I'm wearing. So I wore this one time. He's like, how many Goodfellas shirts do you have? I said, I'm not going to answer you, but kudos for knowing that's the
Yeah.
intro for Goodfellas. He's like, yeah, I
Yes.
love that movie.
Very cool. Very cool.
and thank you. I I I love coming across people who are not only modern movie fans, but know the history of film, have an appreciation for world cinema of all decades. So it is going to be interesting to talk to you tonight and just go back and forth with you as well.
For sure. Yeah. Wherever you want to go, I'm happy to go to.
Well, normally I get into an icebreaker, but I really just want to get into it with you because you have a journey. And I think some would say you have several journeys. You have a journey as an actor, you have a journey as a YouTuber, all that. So whichever one you want to pick and just give us where it began. Was there a film or an experience that got you to be a critic, or a film or experience that made you want to be an actor? You pick and go with it.
Um, I look at them all as being an extension of one another, because when I really got interested in acting, I was also I got interested in acting because I got interested in film, like a lot of people do. I'm sure it's a certain performance in a certain movie. Um, so the two went hand in hand for me, and I was torn between acting and filmmaking in my late teens, and then I decided to go down the acting road. Still developing my love of movies along the way as well, and learning as much as I could about film history, but acting was always my primary focus, which about a decade ago led to teaching. I got really interested in teaching because I lived in England for a couple of years, in London, and as I was studying there, I started to think more about teaching. But then I would say also in the last 9, 10 years, there was another sort of dissatisfaction brewing in me, creatively speaking. And I started to think, well, I mean, I've produced and directed as well, but I was like, well, maybe I should make a movie or put on a play. And I was coming up with ideas, but nothing that I really wanted to follow. And then I started to think, maybe there's something else in film, like writing, I'd be interested in. So I started writing some film criticism, some blogs and stuff like that. I just dabbled in it. And then fast forward a few years, when the pandemic hit, I was talking to a friend of mine who's also an actor, and he's a writer. And he also has a huge love of cinema. And we were just, it was when COVID hit with nothing to do, and we started, bouncing ideas back and forth about something we could do together. And the idea came to review movies on Instagram live. Let's do like a live Instagram bi-weekly show. So we thought, okay, let's just do that for fun. And then so we started that, which led to the YouTube channel, where he was the co-host. He was my co-host for the first 10 months. and we had different ideas about where the channel should go, and we didn't agree with everything that was happening, even though we were having such a good time. And then as my love of the channel increased, his decreased.
Oh,
So we butted heads a little bit. So he decided to part ways, and so I continued it on my own. But that's how it started, and then it made me. It's been like going to film school for me, because I've learned so much more about movies from talking to people like you and interviewing. I've been lucky to just interview a lot of notable film scholars and historians and writers, and I've been really reviewing movies on the show with guests. So I'm looking at movies in ways I hadn't maybe before. Whereas, yeah, sure, I would look at the story and what it's about, and a little bit on the direction, a little bit on the cinematography and the writing, but always much more about like the acting and the performances. And now it's become the flip side of me, where I'm like so much more interested in um the writing, the shots, the camera movements, uh
hmm.
the characters, the metaphors, what have you. So that's sort of the way. I don't separate them. I sort of look at them all as an extension of one another, that they all inspired one another. And so, my the way I look at what I do, I guess, is like a juggling act between the two. Sometimes I'm acting,
Yeah.
I'm always doing my show. I kind of consider myself, I guess, a YouTuber first, a teach,
I was gonna
and
ask.
a teacher, an actor, tied for two.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe I'd put acting number three, because I teach more than I'm working as an actor. So I just I look at them all as I'm juggling each of them, and I don't have to say I'm one thing. I sort of like, I'm always inspired by actors who then became writers or scholars or directors. I seem to be attracted to people who do a few things, or
hmm,
multiple things. I really find that really, really appealing. So that's a roundabout answer, way of a nutshell of what I do.
yeah. But that almost makes it like a Renaissance man, where you had in the past, you had actors who could also sing and dance, or singers who could do the other two, and then some expanded out to writing and directing or producing themselves. And we kind of went away from that. But I don't want to get into that. I just thought when you were talking about criticism and review, do you find, because I spent a lot of time doing critiques and written reviews and all that, do you find that you can't turn that off when you go to see like fun movie? And I'll keep using the example of the last Ghostbusters movie, because I went to see it and I had my critics hat on, and like you said, the cinematography and all that. My friend said, "But did you have fun? That's supposed to be like a fun movie."
Yeah.
Do you differentiate? Do you split it? Do you make a line somewhere?
It's a good question. I don't think I sort of necessarily actively go into look at it from a critical eye, but I think
Mhm.
I just can't help it. Like my son wanted to watch like the Minecraft movie recently, for example, and
Huh?
I just couldn't help but say, okay, this is the protagonist, this is the antagonist, here's the inciting incident. It's I mean, because those are, as you know, are made for consumption, and are made
Mhm.
to be
Content.
purely entertaining.
Mhm.
It's very easy to spot, right, that structure. So,
Mhm.
but it doesn't necessarily like put me in my head. Like I can still just enjoy it, uh
Yeah.
for what it is. But then sometimes I will put on a film that I just want to watch, that I'm not reviewing, and if it's a challenging film, part of me will realize very quickly, oh, hang on, I'm maybe 80% tuned into where I would be if I was going to do it on my show.
Hmm.
Looking for, as many details as I can think that would be
Yeah.
valuable to discuss. But I mean, speaking of Scorsese, 'cause I like what Scorsese said when he taught film. He would tell people, don't take notes during movies, just watch it and then think about it
Hmm.
later. So I try to do that as much. I never take notes. I'm not a note taker, even if I know I'm going to write. I also write some film criticism for website here in Toronto. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm a firm believer in I mean, everybody's different, but I'm like, I'll just watch it. And, here we are in this day and age where, hey, if I want to go back and look at a scene, no problem.
Right.
If I was a
Right.
critic in the 60s, then yeah, maybe I would take notes because I might not get another chance to go see it. Um,
Yeah. I see a lot
yeah.
of, when I go to screeners, you could tell the old school critics because they're there with a book,
Mm,
because they get there like 35, 40 minutes early and they're there with their notepad. They're ready. And they
yeah.
got their astronaut upside down pen that could write in the dark. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, I need to watch, I need to absorb. I'll have my initial reaction, like the out of theater reaction, but then I gotta let a movie sit with me, especially if it's something new. Never try to act, but the pros make it look easy.
Yeah.
Like everything else, it's a process. If you're really into it, it's a passion. I don't have the mm, that whatever that is. I don't have it. I was watching something about uh, method actors, and I couldn't imagine what it's like to be with a method actor and they stay in character until final wrap. And I'm like, wow, credit. That's all I say.
Well, I
It
actually
would be
have
nice to
two
try.
videos all about method acting because
That's
there's
right.
been, yeah, you may have seen them,
Hmm.
because what you just said is what people commonly think, that method actors walk around on set in character, uh
Hmm.
but a lot of that is I mean, it's true that actors do that, but it's not that they're necessarily method actors. It's just that it gets associated with method acting. So Daniel
Hmm.
Day-Lewis or Jared Leto, Charlize Theron, they may have done some training in method, but they're not necessarily method actors. But it's just the
Right.
media. The media has associated that approach with method acting, but it's
Hmm.
very. But I did two videos all about two recent books that came out about method acting that people, if they're interested, they might enjoy.
Yeah. I like the fact that you also have some authors. Probably your latest video was about the gentleman who wrote the book on She's Not Just Norma Desmond, which
But
is
yeah.
timely with Sunset Boulevard coming out. Like I was alluding to before, we have films and we have content, but then we also have reviews and we have critiques, if you could follow what I mean.
Mm.
So along those lines, what makes a good review? Like just getting back into it, if especially when you're a fan of the genre, how do you find yourself maintaining a critical perspective? Like what's your favorite era and your favorite genre? Just off topic, but related.
My favorite genre. It's so, yeah. I had a feeling that would come up, and I was like, it's so hard for me to pick because I'm not. It's hard for me to pick a specific genre because
Directors?
I just like, well, yeah, directors I can name for sure. I guess because it's for me, it's if it has some kind of value about like teaching me something, not necessarily, I shouldn't say necessarily teaching, but exploring something about life or about human relationships, then I don't
Mhm.
care if it's like surrealism or horror or sci-fi. Like I, I gravitate towards, films that are going to challenge me and are going to be like also emotionally challenging and that stay with you, that really leave you thinking, or and that maybe can be hard to even talk about because they're so complex, just like people can be hard to talk about because we're all complex. What was the other question? Favorite director?
or a
Uh,
couple of them. You could guess what
yeah,
one of mine is.
yeah,
The other one's
yes.
looking over my shoulder at all times.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, the Hitch.
Yeah,
Yeah, for me, it's definitely Cassavetes. Actually, behind one of the posters
nice.
behind me is Woman Under the Influence.
Yeah,
I know the light is
Sienna.
shining on it a bit, but yeah, that he's my favorite filmmaker, hands down, because his films are all about exploring human relationships,
Hmm.
and how complex people are. And I mean,
Hey,
it
buddy.
just looking at genre, like it, it people don't always talk about the fact that you can't say that he necessarily made a quote unquote genre film, but he used genre often. Like he used noir, he used the crime drama, he used surrealism, he used the
Hmm.
romantic screwball comedy. Like he always had those elements, and it probably starting from the 70s.
Hmm.
And so I'm sort of fascinated by the fact that he utilized genre within his movies. So yeah, he definitely is my all-time favorite. I love Elaine May, who he worked with on
Mm,
Mikey and Nikki. One
yeah.
of my
Oh my
favorite.
gosh, that movie's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Oh,
I
oh,
literally just put that on the shelf earlier.
it's one of
The
my
criterion of that.
favorites. Yeah. Yeah, I have it too. I have it too. Yeah, that's one of my favorite films. I've come to grow. I always liked Orson Welles, but I've come to like really love him. I
Hmm.
had on last year one of the Wells scholars, Joseph McBride, and I read he wrote this fantastic book called "Whatever Happened to Orson Welles,"
Mm,
and which is meant to be ironic because obvious people would always say what happened to him after Citizen Kane, but
yeah,
he was constantly working. It's just that,
yeah.
yeah, like even when he wasn't making a movie, he was shooting stuff all the time, and that's why we have some of these unfinished projects. But
Hmm.
creatively he had these strong relationships with Gary Graver, his cameraman, all through the last 15 years of his life. So this book focuses mostly on the last 15 years of his life, everything with The Other Side of the Wind, which Netflix just finished 7 years ago, which
Yeah.
I think is incredible. And like a lot of Wells films, I bet you will see people talk about it more as the years go on. Because his films, as is well known, like Citizen Kane, people didn't realize was a masterpiece like till 20 years later,
Yeah.
But I've come to truly love his work and him, just his artistry and his refusal to compromise and to meet his vision at all costs. Like he's just I love his eccentricity, and he's fantastic. Yeah,
I see a little commonality there. Both Cassavetes and Wells, two
very
actors,
similar.
also
Yeah,
directors.
say there you go. Yeah, and Elaine
But
May as
take
well was an actor.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So take any of them and then imagine the first time you're watching a certain of their films. How do you stay critical without having favoritism? Like I know Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest comes out Friday in the theaters.
Right.
My rating of it I'm going to be biased in some ways because I like Spike Lee movies.
Yeah, yeah,
How do you keep that balance between
yeah.
being a
It's a good
critic and being
question.
a fan?
Yeah, it's a good question. It can be tough. I mean, I know Philip Lopate, the film professor. He wrote a book last year, and he talks about that. There is pressure sometimes to just almost force yourself to like certain films because everybody's been talking about the fact that it's a masterpiece for such a long time, and so you feel like, oh well, if I don't say so, then what am I missing? So
Mhm.
you have to be as honest as you can, because I think you're doing a disservice to yourself and the audience by just trying to say something's great because either you like the director a lot or everyone else likes it a lot. So you have to do your best to not be afraid um to really be honest, and if not, stand up for a film. Like I just read this book on Terrence Malick, and
Hmm.
a lot of the films he did after Tree of Life, the directors just tore apart.
Mm.
And some of the I didn't. Just watched while reading the book. I went through his entire filmography. I'd seen some of his movies, and there was one of them called Night of Cups with Christian Bale that was another film that everyone hated, and it just became a thing of like, oh well, it's Terrence Malick, so let's just like get the pitchforks out. He's pretentious, he's arty, he's doing all this weird but and I'm like, I don't know how you can not like, how can people praise Antonioni or Fellini and not, because Night of Cups is like is very much in the
They inspired
vein.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very much in that kind of style, or even thematically speaking, in a very, not that he's, in a very, very Malick way. Um, but, so I wrote a piece just sort of recently, just talking about how much I think it's a great film. It's a shame that critics tore it up. So yeah, I think you have to take the blinders off as much as you can. I've certainly been guilty of
We all.
you know saying I like something more than maybe I did. But yeah, you
Hmm.
you have to be as honest as you can.
David was on here. And as we get to the five takes later, you'll see what number five is. He told me about you. And then, as I mentioned, other people, but I wanted to give them an opportunity to ask you a question. So, with that in mind,
There he is.
Hey, Robert. Glad you found your way to the conversation with KB. You talk a lot about classic film. I'm curious maybe what some of your more contemporary favorites are. Can you give us some favorites from maybe the 90s on? Just films that you maybe come back to time and again, or titles that just really caught your attention? Would love to know your answer. Thanks, and happy movie watching.
I thought he was there. I was gonna say, hey David, yeah, it's a recording. Great, yeah, good question. 90s and four, it's so funny. I have to like shake my head when people ask, because I feel like I draw a blank when I'm reaching for something, but then if I'm just like
Hmm.
not thinking about anything, then they start to come later. So I'll do my best, but I will say I'm just gonna go with what comes to me first. I'll probably kick myself later by leaving
Yeah,
someone
you'll have a
out.
different answer.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Night of Cups, like I just mentioned, is from only from 10 years ago. Um,
Hmm.
and but I really like Sean Baker, who just
Yeah.
won like 4 Oscars for Anora. And as much as I liked Anora, I do like some of his earlier films better, like Prince of Broadway, which is
Mm.
Criterion.
Haven't
Just,
seen that yet.
oh man,
I got to pick that up.
it's amazing. It's from 2008,
Hmm.
and it is absolutely phenomenal. It is about, he explores, I'm sure people know what I mean when they, well, I guess I mean, this is common in any major city, of like just people selling merchandise on the street. I guess we associate it a lot with New York, but it's about this guy, and he's like, he's in New York, and he's selling merchandise on the street, shoes, bags and stuff. And he gets this his girlfriend gets no, sorry, his girlfriend had his baby and he didn't know. So, so she drops the baby off because she can't take care of him anymore. So this sort of goes over his head, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
also plays comedically. And actually, one of the actors in it, who you'll recognize in so many of Baker's movies, Karan Karagulian, who he was like one of the guys in Anora, who worked for the father
Hmm.
of the guy that was with Mikey Madison, and they're trying to get them separated. He was one of those guys.
Yeah.
I interviewed him on my show, and he's phenomenal in all of his movies. But yeah, Prince of Broadway and Red Rocket by Sean Baker as well, from
Yeah.
4 years ago. That didn't. I maybe I missed it, but I didn't see a lot of attention. I didn't see it get a lot of attention.
I
Um,
saw more after it came out on streaming and physical media because I think a lot of people missed it. You know, independent films, smaller films usually don't get the run that they used to.
right.
So I think more people discovered it later on. So unless you get some kind of buzz like what Anora did and its award season run, you typically like I was telling people about Sean Baker films when he was doing stuff like Tangerine and Takeout,
Tangerine, yeah.
and they
Takeout's
were like,
great
"I
too.
never heard of that. I never
Yeah,
heard that film." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I just got the second sight." And they're like, "Where do you hear about these movies?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't just go see the blockbusters." And that was more when I was young, but now it's a matter of I just wanna see great film.
yeah.
So, um ooh, we have someone else just popped in the comments here. We have James from 20th and 21st Movies saying,
Oh,
"What is
James, yeah.
up?"
Hey, James. I've had James
And
on my
instead
show.
of just yeah, I remember that. And instead of just seeing a comment from him, why don't we just do this?
All right, all right. Hello there, Robert and KB. Hope y'all are doing well. Got a quick question for you, Robert. Last year, you had me on your channel and you introduced me to this film, Killer of Sheep, that
Oh
got
yeah.
a Criterion Collection 4K release this year. That is an awesome release, by the way. So my question for you is this. What other under the radar title, little known title, would you recommend as a great discovery for somebody else? Similar to Killer of Sheep, flies under the radar. A lot of people may not have heard about it, but would make for a great recommendation for somebody to discover something new in film. And what boutique label would you love to see put it out? Let us know.
Wow. This is like I'm talking to all the people in my life. Like
I told you, we got love for you on this channel.
this is great. I love it. This is I love it. I love the videos. Oh my God. That is such a good
That
question.
was a great recommendation, by the way. When he told me it was from you, I had to go back and watch that episode
Killer of
because,
Sheep.
yeah, when
Yeah,
you
I love
recommended
that
it to
movie.
him.
Yeah, yeah, I love. And I met Charles Burnett back in May. He was here in Toronto. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, very, very nice man, down to earth. I may have to come back to that one as my brain is is
Because depending
racked.
on the movie is what label you would want to see put it out because you different labels will give it different kind of love and different kind of attention. So it
Yeah,
all depends on the
exactly.
movie.
I'm still thinking of David's question because he mentioned 90s specifically. And one film I love from the 90s is A Taste of Cherry, the Kiarostami.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't
that's
heard someone make a
phenomenal.
reference to that in a while.
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
movie is unbelievable. Oh, here's one. I don't know, maybe you can tell me if it has a physical media release, but it's called it's actually a documentary, a short documentary, but it's called Nobody's Business from
That's
mid 90s. I don't know if it's on Canopy here in Canada. I'm not sure about in the States. I forget the
mhm.
filmmaker's name. Going back to Philip Lopate, he wrote this fantastic book about art house movies, and that was one of them. So I put it on. I was like, "Wow, this movie's now in my top 100." But it's only like it's like a 50 minute documentary, and it's about this the documentarian interviewing his father and trying
Mm.
to because his father was loving but yet a sort of rough, distant kind of guy. He doesn't like to talk about his feelings, and so it's about him pushing and probing his father, and it plays comedically, but it's also incredibly moving. And I don't know if that's out anywhere, but if that was out on Criterion, because it's a short documentary, they'd probably put it as a few documentaries on one disc, I would imagine. But I
Yeah.
would love to see Criterion do something on that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it looks like
Nobody's
there's a
Business.
DVD set
Oh, there is. Okay.
for it. Yeah. I was trying to find the movie that I would use to answer that, and I recently saw it just a couple months ago, and oh my gosh, that thing just stayed with me, and of course, I cannot find it right now. but it was an Italian film. Fellini co-wrote it and helped produce it. Oh my gosh, it's gonna bother me, but I want that movie to come out on physical so badly. Um,
Oh,
it's
one
like
of his
post.
early, was it one of the before he was directing, one of the ones he co-wrote?
No, it was during his heyday, but
Oh, really?
he wasn't the main person on it. Of course, I'm gonna find it later on, and then I'm gonna be like, "Oh, that was the name." Without Pity, that
Oh,
was the
yeah.
name of it.
Yeah.
1948.
Yes.
So that was directed by La Latauda, and Fellini co-wrote it with Latauda. So
Yeah, I don't think I've
yeah,
seen that.
that was powerful. That was powerful. And when it was done, I wanted to watch it again, and then I wanted to have it. I wanted to own it. And there's something about not just um, directors and producers, but also actors, which you can speak to as well. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, like, I went through a period last year where I realized, especially a lot of movie lovers and physical media lovers, we don't really have a hold on what it takes to make a movie. So I've had producers on here, directors, and fellow actors. And I asked one of them to come back. He's a New York guy. And I said, I want you to ask a question. So this is Daniel Sibner, or just plain Sibner.
I often have this issue when, especially when I'm watching a movie, um, as a fellow actor and an acting teacher, do you ever find yourself uh, wanting to hit pause on a movie or a TV show, or be watching a play and wanting to just like stop everything and make adjustments? Or do you feel like, I would have done it differently? Oh, why did they make that choice? Or can you actually disassociate from everything and actually enjoy it just as an audience member? Curious what you think.
We are
Okay.
doing a lot of questions
I
about
love it.
disassociation.
No, it's a good, yeah, I get that sometimes, even from like people not in the industry. They'll say, oh, can you just like enjoy movies or plays and without looking at it from a critical lens. So to answer his question, I usually don't.
Mm,
The reason being for acting, I think, is because I don't think, oh, this could be done better, because for me, I'm taking in the story and the context and the acting, taking all that in at the same time. So I haven't necessarily looked at the scene on the page, because when you look at the scene from the page, like if I'm directing it as a teacher or if I'm doing the
mhm,
scene as an actor, I'm thinking, okay, what are the circumstances here? What does the character want from the other person? What is the consequence if they don't get it? So that will sort of like give me a feeling, and then I can like dig into it. But if I'm watching a
mhm,
film, I'm taking all that in at once, so I'm not necessarily thinking, oh, if only that person was angrier there, or uh however, with that being said, I think I can do that if I know it, even if I've seen it. If I've seen it once or twice and I'm watching it back to back, because the one habit I've gotten into with reviewing films is I used to watch it once and then review it. Now I watch it twice and review it.
nice.
So yeah, so one thing I can certainly spot if an actor is, and I'm sure most people can spot if an actor is like faking or pushing or being extremely over the top. But I don't necessarily think, oh, scene could be better if this actor had done this. But I think I can do that if I know the movie. Just like when you're doing, like I said, if I'm about to audition for something or I'm doing it or teaching it, like I've got to know the context fairly well before I give it to the
Right.
students, or else they do the scene and if I don't know where the characters are coming from and what they want, then I can't help them. For people who are wondering about these posters, here in Toronto there's a movie theater called Review Cinema, when they show older films. And so, as you can see, I've got In a Lonely Place and A Woman Under the Influence and Raging Bull. So they make the posters, and I always make sure to buy them when I'm there if it's like a favorite. I was just letting everyone know where these posters come from.
All right. Are you ready for the 5 takes?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. The 5 takes, the 5 questions I ask every guest at the end of the conversation. Some people actually just like, I just want to get to that part. And for a while, I just had like, hi, nice to meet you. Tell people about you. Okay, let's do the 5 takes. But yeah, we're going to start the way we always do with number 1. Name the film that made you fall in love with the movies.
Whew. The film that got me to really start to take film seriously and think, wow, you know, I really love movies, and I need to explore this, was the first film Robert De Niro directed. Well, he only directed 2. The first one, A Bronx Tale, with Chaz Palminteri. He wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
Lilo
Yes.
Brancato is in it. That because when I first started getting into movies, the movies I was getting into, being a teenager, and you know, when you're a teenager, you want to come across as tough and cool, and so those were the movies my friends were watching, and so I had a couple of my friends were, you know, they introduced me to like A Bronx Tale and Casino, Goodfellas, Donnie Brasco, Scarface, and then that really got me interested in film. But that was the first one. I still remember just the way it started with the voiceover from Lilo Brancato and the old 60s music. It just the mood of it, the direction, the style, the acting, this relationship between Chaz Palminteri's character and Brancato's character, this father-son relationship, which really sort of interferes with the relationship between De Niro, who is Brancato's father in the film. It's a really wonderful film.
Number 2, name 5 of your favorite films. We got a lot. Any 5.
Oh, okay. So definitely the Behind Me, Woman Under the Influence, and Raging Bull would definitely make the top 5. Yeah, 8.5 for sure.
Nice. Is that your favorite Fellini?
Oh yeah. I actually rewatched it recently because I watch it every couple of years.
Same.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I also really love The Hustler with Paul Newman, with Robert Roston. That's an incredible film. I saw that when I was 18, and I thought it was okay. And then I saw it again after he died, Newman, and I was like, wow, this movie's amazing. And every time I see it, just like any great film, it offers more and more. And every time I see it, I see something else. And to my surprise, I have not reviewed it yet. I'll have to do something about that. I'll have to review it on my show. Yeah, I haven't reviewed it for some reason. But I love that movie. Mikey and Nikki, which came up, it's definitely up there. It's a phenomenal film. This complex relationship between these two men. That's another film. Every time I see it, I see something else. It's so nuanced, and so they contradict themselves, and their feelings about each other are all over the place. Like, it's messy and funny and brilliant. And another film that I really love is The Night Porter, Liliana Cavani directed.
I think I have kept it on Criterion DVD. That's how long I've had it.
Yeah, because there's the 2 versions of it Criterion put out. Yeah, I love just the music, the cinematography, the mood, the performances, the audacity of it. I mean, it's certainly controversial. It's challenging. It will really push you. It'll piss you off. And I've seen it several times.
That's a movie to go into blind.
Yeah.
Not knowing anything about it, and you go into that blind. Wow.
Oh yeah, but I love Charlotte Rampling. I think she's such an incredible, subtle actor, and Dirk Bogarde.
Yeah.
he's amazing in it. So those aren't necessarily my.
Go ahead. I'm just
I was just
thinking
gonna
out
say
loud.
those aren't necessarily my all-time top favorite, but they're definitely favorites.
Yeah. Oh, 45 years. You ever see that with
Oh,
her? When
brilliant! Yeah, really good.
oh
I love that.
yeah, and it's especially with actors who are famous when they're younger, and then they're also famous again when they're older, like in a different context, like say a Helen Mirren or
Yeah,
Rampling,
yeah,
and they get to play different kind of characters. It's just interesting to see the development of them and how, like you said, she's very silent in her performances, and but also very, very intriguing. Almost pulls
absolutely.
you
Yeah,
in with her performances. I love that. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. She's
All
amazing.
right. Everyone's favorite question. Number 3. Name a popular or classic movie that everybody loves, but you don't particularly like.
Oh God. Well, I am not a Tarantino fan at all. Sorry to the Tarantino fans out there. Pulp Fiction, I used to really like when I was young, and then I've just come to like be like, why did I ever like this movie? I just
Were you
can't
getting into
stand.
screenwriting at the time? Because that would be a good reason.
I
Understanding
think
how
I
to write
was.
a
Yeah, yeah,
nonlinear. Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it gets a lot of people who not necessarily, especially when you start screenwriting, you're just like A to B to C all the way to Z. And all of a sudden he comes and he's like, no, we're going to start at Q. And we're
Right,
going to come back to B. You're not going to get to A until like 2/3, probably right before the third act. And I think the complexity of that is just so uncommon. It caught a lot of people, especially people who later on decided they didn't like it. You mentioned Godard. I'm still with the 5 takes, but the glasses, is that like a
yes.
thing with French New Wave?
Absolutely. I am guilty of
Nailed it.
ripping off. Here I am.
Nailed
Here I
it.
am. I'm a hypocrite. I'm criticizing Tarantino, but my look is ripped off from Godard and Pasolini, the tinted glasses.
Hmm.
I just recently got these. Yeah, I love the tint, so I'm like, I'm gonna go
I
full
love it.
on and
I love it. You just need to be in black and white and
yeah.
like on a
If
on a
only,
French
if only.
corner, with like a slate building behind you. I think you
Yeah.
have a picture like that very similar on your Facebook and a couple other places. I was like, oh man, this just feels like I got dropped into a good art movie or something.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
love it.
That's
I
me.
love it.
That's me.
I like that. All right, let's flip it. Number 4, name a critically hated movie that you love.
Oh, well, like I just mentioned, Knight of Cups definitely
Hmm.
was torn to bits, but I love it. Yeah, I think it's a wonderful, wonderful film. If people haven't seen Knight of Cups, it's on Prime. That's one that's everyone hates it, but I give it a second chance. Or
Yeah.
even his other ones, To the Wonder, I think is very, very good. And not as good as Knight of Cups, but also got torn up, but it's really good. I think it's really, really good.
You know what? Talking about Hawk, we were talking about people criticizing other people's opinions on a movie. And, I was listening to it, and my whole thing is if someone says that movie sucks, and my whole thing is, how can any movie suck? How can art
Right,
suck? You can have opinion about art. And as you can imagine with these questions, people have taken my favorite movies and said they've hated it. From The Godfather, The Wizard of Oz to whatever. And my whole thing is it's criticism. It's
yeah,
your point. It didn't connect with you. Or in a case like you're saying with Pulp Fiction, it no longer connects with you. And
right,
that's your growth, that's your change. But that the movie is the same. The movie's the same when you first saw it as it is now. And you can't take people's opinions and, this sucks, that sucks. The
right.
art doesn't suck. Art is subjective.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's how I see it. That's how I
Yeah,
see it.
I agree. Absolutely.
So as we get ready to land the plane, we ask final question, number 5. Now that you've been on the conversation, number 5, who would you like to see me have a conversation with on the channel?
I would love to see you talk to Raquel Stetcher, who
Mm.
you may even know, who's a wonderful film critic. And she's based in Boston. She does a lot for Turner Classic Movies. She writes a lot of articles for their websites. Yeah, she's a great critic. She's got a wide taste. She knows a lot about film history, and she's just extremely kind and warm. And she's one of the few people who I've been able to meet in person that I've met
Oh, yeah.
on my show. Yeah, because she came for TIFF about 4 years ago, and so we met. I've met a few some others, but yeah, I would love to see Raquel on here.
Hey, if you could help me get her on the show, I would love it. Yeah. I want to thank you for coming on.
Oh,
As
my
I
pleasure.
mentioned, you were a number 5 answer and you were spoken about many times. So I was like, we have to do this and we have to have a conversation. I look forward to other conversations. Please follow Robert. You see the spelling of his name there. You could just add at the movies at the end. I want to thank everyone once again for coming and checking us out. I'll watch a movie.